5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the brighter side of blue, our worldwide podcast coming to you from Columbo's Cafe and Tavern in Dogtown. It's where the stories are told, sacrifices are remembered, and the legends are honored. I'm Danny.
I'm Tommy.
I'm JJ.
Producer Jen.
I like your new opening, dude.
Well done, Danny.
Thank you a lot, guys.
Did you write that yourself?
Mix it up. I wrote that myself. I came up with it all myself.
Good for you.
Thanks, guys.
I was getting bored.
Are you gonna?
I was getting bored. I felt like a robot. So I'm mixed
Well,
up.
we hit 100 million.
Are you just going to surprise us every week? Are you sticking with that? For
I'm not that creative, Tommy.
You just stick with that for a while.
I did the other one for 2.5 years, so I'll do this one for 2.5 years.
All right.
No, we'll switch it up.
So we hit our 100 million views.
No, we're at 97.6 million views.
We're just inching up. We rose quickly, and we're just inching to that.
Yeah, we
million.
just can't get to that 100 million. But like, subscribe, and share. Hit that button, please.
Absolutely.
Tommy keeps track of it, and it's catapulting this grassroots podcast straight to the top.
We're trying.
Tommy, what do we got today? What are we opening for?
Tim Brunholtz, retired DEA officer or DEA agent, and he did quite a few years. And I think when he started, JJ, 71 to 72. It started out when it was dangerous drugs and narcotics.
Before DEA.
Before DEA, and it turned into DEA. So he has some good stories, and one of the things that kept coming up is he kept locking up public figures. So you got a mayor, you got a sheriff, and you got a judge. So, but he tells other stories too. At the time growing or getting his roots in Chicago and then moving to St. Louis. So great stories, and I think you guys will enjoy it. So
all right.
Stay tuned, and if you want to, like I always said, if you want to go right to it, look in the descriptions. You go right to the interview with Tim.
But that'd be stupid because
Real stupid.
Miss us.
we're going back to old time. We're going back to our roots tonight.
I got a couple stories about that. We got a good scandal. Me and
We have a
Danny talked about a
huge
good scandal.
tonight. But before I want to say congratulations to NASA. Artemis 2 is catapulting around the Earth and going to the far side of the moon, like Pink Floyd, right? Producer John, is that Pink?
Dark Side of the Moon.
Is it landing on the moon?
No, you know why? Because they don't want to.
Because you can't.
They're just taking pictures of it as they go
Right,
by.
they're going to take a picture
I don't
of
know
it.
what to do with this guy.
They're going to get that golf
They're going to
ball back.
orbit the moon. Yeah.
They're orbiting the moon.
That's going to be kind
Let
of.
me know if they get through that radiation belt.
But I hope that golf cart's still there.
Golf cart.
Right. It is.
They left the caddy up there too.
It's in stage 9.
Producer John, did you watch Blast Off yesterday?
Yes, it was.
It was
incredible.
invigorating. I mean, it made me proud to be an American. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Well, Tom says he saw the little string that they were pulling the model rocket up. He's never.
They're going to run around in space and orbit the moon from way far away from the moon. They're
Farther
not going to
than-
land on the moon.
They're heroes.
They're not trying to land on the moon this time. It's not like
Because
that's not
they
part of
can't.
the mission.
They can't land on the moon.
Gosh, dang it!
We
man.
better
It's
move
hard.
on. 'Cause
Yeah.
On a positive note,
He's getting my blood pressure up.
I got
can't land on the moon.
I got a positive and a very negative one. I just want to say this will be over by the time this airs. But
Okay.
the police fireman hockey game is this Friday at 7:00 at Afton, and it's one of my favorite events. And I
And
think
who's
I'm
the
going
favorite
by.
this year? Honest to goodness.
I think we are. They won last year, and it's the first time they've won in a long time.
Okay.
But if they play fair and don't get some ringers from different places they shouldn't be getting them from, city will.
Still firemen though, right?
Yes, firemen.
Then it's legal if they get firemen.
No. Well, I won't get into it. They had an illegal policeman last year. But that's
Illegal policeman sounded like the policeman cheated.
Wow, this is like the scandal
All right.
show. We didn't land on the moon. It's not truly a fire hockey team.
Well, they found this young kid. He was just in a brand new policeman in some uni. And they snatched him up because they
the
said.
firemen snatched them up?
Yes, I don't want to get. I love firemen, but they're a little shady on this one.
All right, well, so what's the line on the game?
Oh, I don't know. It's probably 2.5, 2.5
Oh,
favorite.
in a hockey game, Bo, that's a huge line.
Right.
All right, 1.5.
Plus 2.5 goals.
It should be.
That's a blowout. Well, FanDuel's out there courting us, and we're going to sit down with them soon, and it'll be a sponsor.
That's what's happening.
Yeah, so we'll go with these lines. Point plus 2.5 is a little strong.
We'll announce it next week whether I was right.
Tommy, you and I both were studied up on a pretty bizarre scam involving Mount Everest. You want to hit it?
Unbelievable. So it's organized crime. I don't know which organized crime unit's behind this, but what they did is, obviously climbing Mount Everest is quite the task.
Yeah.
And people over the years, train, the
Bucket list thing.
They're like
Crazy
the adventurous, like extremists. I want
that's
to
a
climb
crazy
Mount
list.
Everest one day.
Yeah.
So these people set up a scam where
The Sherpas set it
the
up.
Sherpas, well, through organized crimes, they got to these people and said, okay, we can run a scam to where we're going to sue the insurance companies of these people that want to take this expedition and climb Mount Everest. So what they would do, they had the truck people, the hospitals, the helicopter people, everybody's involved.
And the Sherpas.
What are the Sherpas? I don't know what you're talking about.
I can't believe the look. Okay, all right, we're not getting along today.
Hey,
We're
Tommy, I was
getting
wondering
along.
the same thing. I was acting like I
the
knew what
Sherpas are the ones that bring the packs, the guides. They are the original.
They're the truck people. Well, you call them Sherpas, okay? A big deal. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't use their professional fucking names.
or just what they are.
Well, they're from there,
they're tour guides.
and they can handle the altitude, and they're the ones that
Exactly.
that hump all your
equipment up. They kept.
So they're the tour guides.
Yeah. All right.
So you call them Sherpa.
Some
I call them truck
there's some
people.
badass
I call
tour
them the
guides.
trucksters.
Okay. All right. So now
It's a little bit more
So
involved.
the trucksters are so what happens is they're when they start elevating up the mountain, they feed them. And what they were doing was putting extra baking soda in their meals, which would simulate the fact that you'd be getting altitude sickness. And when you get altitude sickness, it needs to be dealt with. It's not something that you can just
sleep
and then say it's going to get better. We'll just keep going. So when they would get this sickness, it would mimic the exact same thing. And then the trucksters are the Sherpas. They would tell these, we need to get you off this mountain. We need to get you to the hospital.
You could die. You could die. Yeah.
They would call in the helicopter who's in the scam, and they'd charge the shit out of the insurance company.
Oh, wow.
They'd fly them to the hospital who was in the scam. They would give the false medical reports.
Wow.
And this went on from 2022 to 2025.
Do you think maybe they were prejudging people and thinking this guy or gal is never going to make it up this? Let's give them.
That's a good question. I don't know.
The drugs or whatever.
They were just trying to get rid of the weaklings.
Right.
No.
No.
That's still a scam. Even if
But they're
that's the
probably
thought
saying,
process.
we might as well make money, but they're going to have to drag this
the
ass
fraud-
up the mountain, and we might as well get rid
I
of them
hear what
early
you're
and
saying.
make money off it.
This fraud was at the tune of $20 million.
Wow, that's a lot.
It affected 4,200 or 4,800
Climbers, yeah.
hikers.
Yeah.
Now, who snitched them out? How does?
I don't know. I didn't get
So
into that
here's one of the
portion.
things. I don't know how they got snitched out, but so those helicopters would come in, and when you called in for a helicopter rescue, they would take up to 8 climbers at once. But on the scam, they would always just say there was one, and they would multiply it by 8. So, oh no, there's just a single one, but there could be up to 8 on the thing. And these Sherpas were getting rich off of this thing. So, I mean, could you imagine training your entire life saying, I'm going to finally do it. I'm finally in shape. I'm going to do it. And you actually have some momentum towards it. And then they slip you the
baking soda.
poison food.
That's
Extra
wrong.
baking soda.
And it's wrong.
Did anybody go to jail?
Tommy?
32 people got indicted.
Good.
20 to $40 million they estimate.
Wow.
And like Danny said, they're like bucket list. And these people,
Wow.
I mean, I don't get where they're coming from. These people that run super marathons and all that, but that's how they get. I mean, that's everything to them.
Right.
Everything to them. And then
They train their whole life for it.
Right.
So imagine all the people that got helicopter out that are looking back at this now and said, that's what I was actually poisoned, you know?
I wonder if they get to sue anybody.
I don't know.
Like the ones that like
I wonder if there's any testing 2 years later. Oh yeah, it was baking soda. I don't know. No. Anyway, that's a scam we were both on.
Yeah, we were, because I said I got a good scam, Danny. He's like, I got one too. I goes, you're about Mount Everest? Yep. We're on the same one.
Are you shitting me?
JJ, you had some interesting things you want to talk about.
Well, on a sad note, I do have 2 things, and you can just cut me off the rest of the show.
Okay.
Officer passed away yesterday
Yes.
doing some training on duty. 58 years old, Greg Triplett. He had 32 years on, and he died of a massive heart attack while doing this training. I believe it was the Widowmaker that got him, but sad day. We had a little. They drove him past the headquarters today, and we gave him a little salute. But
Good.
But still, it's
Very sad.
very, very sad.
32 years on the job, still doing the training and taking it
never
seriously. And
be
doing
able to enjoy his retirement.
No.
That's
That's sad.
Then when somebody texted me yesterday, I said that's the worst part.
It is.
You
100%.
you do 32 years. You got a good retirement to look forward to, and you don't get
Not one
iota
day.
of it.
Right.
Yeah, that's horrible.
And I got one more thing that I think was in the news for a short period. We talked about it a little bit. I don't know if you were listening. Do you know who Solange Tremblay is?
No.
She was the gal that was in the plane that crashed, or landed and ran into the fire truck at LaGuardia, and the 2 pilots were killed.
Yeah.
She was ejected in her seat, in her 3 harness seat, got ejected 300 to 320 feet onto the tarmac.
She was a flight attendant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Nothing. But I thought you were making a joke because she went on flight, dude.
Yeah.
She flied 300, and then she landed. And then when they found her, she was still alert. Severely broken legs, broken arms. I think she had a little bit of a spine injury and had to go surgery for. But she made it. I believe she's going to make a full recovery. But you don't even hear from her anymore. Can you imagine being tossed from a plane?
300 feet.
That's a long way.
It's the size of a football field.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Unbelievable.
And she survived. And they found her still strapped in and alert. That's the worst part. If I'm be that severely injured, I'm going to be out.
Right.
Wow. JJ, we always pound on you on this, but I saw in the news that there were street takeovers in L.A. at an epic proportion. It happens in every major city.
Right.
But right now, you guys have a little plan on it.
But I still don't want to talk about it.
Okay. You know?
I think it's a good idea to tell everybody your
we're-
plan first.
Nah.
Okay.
We got one. But
I'm
did
good.
you saw in San Francisco, this is just San Francisco, bicycles took over the street. They were everywhere, riding in throughout. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of bicycles. And they rode the wrong way on a ramp, and they stopped them. They blocked them in. The police showed up, blocked their entranceway on both sides, and shut down the highway, and took all their bikes and locked up 100 and something, whatever it was, 200 people, and locked them up.
Wow.
That's good.
Anybody
That was
that
good.
that says that let's get on our bikes and go take shit over, I'm not sure about that.
The video is crazy, though.
I'm
They're
not sure
in and
about
out
that.
of cars, and
Why, I
it's just
get-
insane.
Now I'll go back to my childhood where I got stopped by a broom. You just stick a broom in the front. I'm going down the street. One of my friends threw a broom in my front tire.
Oh, in the
my
spokes,
forehead.
in the
I was
spokes? Oh, yeah.
Sailing right over.
Yeah.
the top.
That's
a good friend.
That's really cruel. That is. Hey, Sugar Ford's having a huge truck sale, producer John.
Oh, yeah.
They are
We're
going,
psyched.
so go down there and visit them, tell them the Brighter Side of Blue sent you. They are also, the mobile service van will come to your house or work and change the oil in your car. So it's kind of like the windshield thing, but they will come to your work and take care of that, and they will also service your fleets. So, I don't know, Bart Inman and the HVAC company, they'll come and
Whatever.
service all
Whatever it is.
your cars. So go see Sugar Ford of St. Louis for that. Yes. Producer John, are you sitting on a musings at the microphone?
Is our favorite song.
I think JJ's song's a little bit better, but that's a close second.
That is.
They're both.
JJ's is on the charts.
They're both Grammy worthy.
Right.
Exactly.
Hey, I think a couple weeks ago we talked about driving to Alaska.
Yeah.
And Mark Wassum's son is in the military, and he chose I guess he gets to pick where he wants to go. He chose Alaska. So Mark drove with some of his stuff from St. Louis all the way up through Canada and to Alaska.
How long?
I wanted to call him. I don't know, but it took a few days, obviously.
I think that's the Yukon Highway or what I think it's called. I don't know.
That's an adventure, just in
Oh,
itself.
heck yeah.
Is UConn still in the tournament?
They are.
They named the highway after him.
Producer John, get on with your musings to the microphone.
All right, the Bottoms Gang.
The Bottoms Gang.
Bottoms Gang. It's infamous Irish mob in St. Louis right around 1900. It started right at 1900. At their peak, they had 50 to 60 members. The Bottoms was a part of St. Louis. It was on Cass Avenue, just north of Union Station, and it was a rundown part of town, and it was slightly lower than everything around it, so they called it the Bottoms. But it was all tenements and rundown bars, and just a tough part of town. So there was a guy named Bad Jack Williams, who was a former detective who became an underground figure. And he was like the muscle for a guy named Colonel Ed Butler, who was a Democrat political boss. And back in those days, it was all about intimidation, and they'd get people to vote, and kind of like they do now. Well, the Missouri Attorney General, who named Joseph Folk, who became the governor eventually, he had enough of Bad Jack and Colonel Butler, and he put his people on them, and they all went to jail or got killed. So what spun out of that was a 25-year-old man named Frank Hussey, who was part of Bad Jack's crew. He was a college-educated guy. He went to St. Louis University. He got a degree in political science. He decided to get into politics, and he needed some people to be his muscle, So he had that kind of gang background, but he's also an educated guy who had political ambitions. So he actually was voted into the St. Louis Democratic House of Delegates, and he went out and started getting these street thugs. Well, he was his mortal enemy was the Egan's Rats.
Egan's Rats.
Because he had gotten into it with them, and he got shot by one of Egan's Rats, and he got shot in the abdomen, and he never fully recovered because back then, medicine was bad. He'd be all right for a while, but then it would rupture again, and he'd have this hemorrhaging and whatever. So he hated the Rats. So that's one of the Bottoms gang's arch enemies. But the other arch enemy was the St. Louis Police Department, and this kid named Tony Foley hated the St. Louis police because his little brother got killed in a street holdup by some guy on the street, the victim, I assume. But he thought that the St. Louis police covered for the guy who shot his brother and let him go. So he vowed to take out as many policemen as he could. But these guys were Irishmen, and every story I read about these guys happened in the saloon. Well, mainly in the saloon. They were always drunk. They were always doing crazy shit. They were all street fighters and thugs, and they went out and recruited the toughest guys they could find. Because back then, I guess street fighting was a big deal. But they to get back at the St. Louis Police Department, Foley and some of the thugs from the Bottoms gang assaulted a policeman named Patrick Stapleton at 23rd and Franklin downtown, and beat him pretty bad. He lived, but he got messed up pretty bad. So the police and the Bottoms gang were at war all the time. So they went on a crime spree because they were all the Bottoms gang was all pissed off. So the police had a club called the Jefferson Club. I don't have an address for it, but obviously it was on Jefferson somewhere. It was kind of like a hangout for the coppers. Well, they showed up there at dawn one day, the Bottoms gang did, and they were going to fight the police, and nobody was there that day. So they broke all the windows out of this place. Well, then they go down to City Hall, and they run in City Hall on the Market Street side entrance, and they're looking for one of these superintendents from one of these departments, because one of their guys he had a real cush job with the city, and he had gotten let go. So they're running around with pistols and bullwhips, according to the story, and they're looking for this guy. Well, he wasn't there that day, and so they run completely amok in City Hall. Police get called. Well, they find him like 3 blocks away in some saloon, refueling, as they called it. So they lock them all up. So so they keep going, and they move their headquarters to 22nd Washington, and they were having a big drunken party, and they're all singing and making noise and shit. Well, there was a police officer who was walking the beat down there named John Hutton. Well, he went in there 2 or 3 times and told him to knock it off and simmer down and shut the hell up. Well, after like the 3rd time, they got in a confrontation, and they shoot John Hutton. And he lived through it, but he was permanently disabled, and that was like the final straw. They said, the police department, and they got a hold of Jeff City, and everybody put their resources together, and they ended up locking up almost every one of them. Hussey, I guess he got word of it or something, so he left and went to Springfield, Illinois, before they all started getting locked up. But when he got there, he had another one of those hemorrhages, and died like around the same time. So he's out. So there was a few of the Bottoms gang left over, and the Egan's Rats took care of the rest of them. So they
Eliminated the entire bottom.
yeah. So they for like 12, 15 years they were big players in St. Louis.
They picked two wrong enemies.
Yeah,
Right.
the police department,
took 'em out.
and the
Egan's
Egan's
Rats.
Rats.
Because they continued, yeah.
And they were always drunk. Maybe if they had some intervention, they would
They
have.
needed a good leader.
Yeah, they did. The Bottoms Gang, an Irish gang.
Bottoms gang. Yes.
So, very good, producer John.
Any kin you
Turn
have
of
in
the
there?
century, baby.
Do you have any kin related to him or anything?
Yeah, you're Irish.
Yeah, I'm not going to admit to.
That's right.
Portland, Oregon has the most full nude strip clubs per capita of any city in the United States.
When we going?
Fantastic.
I'll drive.
Yeah.
The most of
What-
anywhere
what
in the
kind
United
of strip
States. And
clubs?
what's odd about full nude, full alcohol, full bar, the most per capita in the United States. And why I bring it to the table is
I'm just
lawmakers, on this day in history tried to pass a law up in Oregon that they call the 2-foot law. That means that if you were in a strip club,
Yeah.
the dancer could not come within 2 feet of you.
Okay.
All right, good.
They
good.
could not.
yeah.
And they were
I would
trying to.
almost made it.
So they were trying to. Oh, I hit the table.
That's okay.
They tried. They were trying. Their goal with the 2-foot rule was to eliminate lap dances. Well, that was followed up by another city in Oregon tried to implement the 4-foot rule,
Like,
and so it ended up. And they wanted to eliminate the strip clubs. They want to eliminate the
Shame
full
on them.
nudity. They want to eliminate us lap dances. Well, it goes to the Oregon Supreme Court.
Of course. it
And
does.
this entire thing backfired on the lawmakers to a degree that now Portland has the most full nude, full alcohol strip clubs per capita of anywhere in the United States. The Supreme Court said stripping, lap dancing is a form of speech, not just a form of conduct. So they said you can't regulate it. So it went backwards on them. They said, well, then we're going to say you can't serve alcohol in these strip clubs. Supreme Court said you can't regulate them any different than any other establishment. So now it is. So then they went a step
Kind of like
further.
fucking with Afro Man.
Yes, they don't. You should have started this war.
Right.
So then the courts went further. In 1980, they abolished the law of obscenity.
damn.
So I mean,
Shit.
did you know this about up there?
Portland's off
off
the
the chain, dude.
chain, dude.
And so they say that you cannot regulate what the lap dancer does in a private room. You have no say so. Zip it. And so now
That's why they have big bouncers.
But the whole purpose was to
How's that working
abolish
out
the
for-
strip club, and now it amplified it. It's unbelievable.
When did this happen?
Well, they tried it in 1980. They abolished the code, the law for obscenity. But in 1990 is when they tried to implement the 2-foot
Alcohol?
rule and the 4-foot rule. And so it immediately went to the Oregon Supreme Court, and they just said you can't even regulate. So now it is.
No.
It's crazy.
Isn't like heroin and LSD legal in Oregon?
I don't know. I don't know.
I think,
How come
mushroom, I
certain-
think mushrooms are, but I don't know that it goes further than that.
How come certain states have strip clubs and some don't?
I don't know. But I guarantee they wish that they shut up.
We don't have it in Missouri, right?
Well, in Missouri, it's because of the liquor laws. You can't, certain things like a woman can take her top off in a park, and it's not technically illegal in parts
You
of the
sure
state.
about that?
Yeah.
I don't know if jurisdiction by jurisdiction, but it's not a state law. But in a licensed liquor establishment, you can't show certain parts of the body. Whereas in Illinois, obviously anything goes. So
Right.
I thought John was promoting just taking your top off at parks and
And
St. Louis.
I don't know.
I do promote
You
that.
can do that in Portland because obscenity, the law.
How's
is
that working
off
out
the
for
books.
Portland in general? Just as you look at it back now and how
I don't
Portland
know.
is now.
I don't know.
Not sure it's working out
What
real well.
also
No,
happened,
I wouldn't
Tommy,
wanna live
was
there.
that there was
having
a
some morals and just, I'm down. If you want to have a strip club, have a strip club. You want to do that, whatever. But stop telling people what to do, goddamn.
strippers from all over the country are flocked there because they know they have work and they can't even be.
Good for them.
It's kind of crazy.
Oh yeah, gold mine for the strippers.
JJ, let's get to your Zen before we
What do
wrap
we got?
this up.
What we got, JJ?
Hold on, JJ.
Hold on,
Hold
we
on,
got to
JJ.
get that
John
music.
needs
This is
to-
on the charts.
He caught John on the move.
I take
John's
care of
got
a technical issue.
Yeah, what, you were out of beer?
Yeah.
There it is. Number
Quiet
one
on
song.
set.
Here it
Number
comes.
one song.
Is this from Postal Dave, by the way?
No,
He was here last week.
I know. I'm on law enforcement thing.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, hey, JJ, don't quit, JJ.
Fear is a reaction. Courage is a decision. That was by Winston Churchill.
I love it.
All right.
Say it
All
again.
right.
Fear is a decision. Yes. No, you motherfuckers. Fear is a reaction. Courage is a decision. You fuckers. That's like the shortest one you can do.
All right.
I can do it reverse.
Let's do it reverse.
Just do it forward, please.
Yeah, just do it right. One last time. One last time.
One last time.
Fear is a reaction. Courage is a decision.
Boom.
There, boom.
Let's go.
There you go.
Did it right the first time.
Let's tell everybody that communities that support or what am I trying to say?
Law enforcement.
Communities that support law enforcement are safer places to live, and enjoy our interview with Tim Brunholtz.
Peace.
See you next week. Peace.
All right.
Should've had this.
I'm off to Holy Thursday Mass. Anybody want to go with me?
Are you kidding me?
Time for a quick word from our sponsors. Remember, listeners, you can go buy a Ford from many places, but when you buy it from Schicker Ford of St. Louis, you get a car and a family. The service after the sale is second to none. They've been huge supporters of law enforcement for over 60 years. You get the same treatment if you visit Schicker Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge in Washington, Missouri. So,
When you don't want to bicker about the price on the sticker, head on down to Schicker, where you get the best deal quicker.
Now, where the heck do you bring that car when you first get it?
What I would do is you got to unwind afterwards, and whenever you want to unwind after a shift, buying a car, or just a good night out, you head to Columbo's Cafe and Tavern in Dogtown, St. Louis, where craft brews are on tap. Solid pub grub, a vibe that says real people, real stories, near the heart of St. Louis. Bring your squad or just bring your appetite. Located on Manchester in historic Dogtown, Columbo's is where community roots meet good times. Visit columbosstl.com or drop in tonight. Tell them the brighter side of blue sent you. Columbo's, for people who work hard and play harder. All right, welcome to our featured interview tonight. And our featured interview is with Tim Brunholtz. And Tim is a retired, I guess we'll call him a DEA agent, but when he started, it was the, what was it called when you started?
Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs.
Bureau, and that was in 1971. But before that, he grew up in Kansas. We'll hear a little bit about that. And then he went to the military. We'll hear a little bit about that. But then he went to Chicago. And right now, the St. Louis Cardinals are on, and they're in its opening day. And you grew up and you did a lot of time in Chicago, and now you've transplanted to St. Louis. So do your loyalties lie with the Chicago Cubs or the St. Louis Cardinals?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I'd never wear blue.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. Except for like the brighter
Well, I
side
mean,
of blue stuff.
The brighter side of blue stuff.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
We're talking apples and oranges.
I like it. But Tim, thank you for coming. And the reason we have Tom Malachek on is because Tom is obviously a part of the show, and Tom worked for Tim in
I
two
did.
different locations. So Tom, tell everybody where you met Tim.
Sure, I sure did. I put in as a St. Louis City police officer, put in for the DEA task force, not knowing that there was a group of us out at the airport doing interdiction. I was accepted and sent to the airport, and Tim at the time was the group supervisor for the airport DEA task force.
Nope.
And then we went on from there, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But
That's part of
where
his
we,
career, and
yeah.
we'll hear about all that. And
Absolutely.
And Tim, thank you for coming.
Ever since. I'm sorry.
Glad to be here.
And well, let's get started. How long grew up in Kansas. Tell us a little bit about growing up in Kansas and then your trip to the military. And I found something very interesting in the military. I think everybody else will too.
Well, I grew up in southwest Kansas in a little small town. Obviously, not a whole lot going on there. I graduated from high school. I was 17 years old. I had been a good student. I had a chance to go to college, but my parents didn't have any money. I certainly didn't have any money. And the alternative then was either you become a crook and go to jail or you go to the military. And so I wasn't very good, I don't think, at being a crook, so I decided I'd go into the service.
Right.
I went into the Air Force, and after taking a battery of tests, I found I had a language aptitude. And the Air Force offered me an opportunity to go to a civilian university, wear soft clothes, no uniforms, and study Russian language. I said, what a beautiful thing. It counts towards my enlistment, sign me up. I ended up at Syracuse University, spent about a year there studying language under actual defectors. I remember the lady that was in charge of it, Olga Stravinsky, just the kind of woman you don't want to meet in a dark alley, but she was an outstanding instructor, and I picked up on the language fairly well. And by the time I finished language school, it was time for me to go back to Texas and do some training, and I went to San Angelo. And it turned out that at the time, they had enough linguists. So they offered an opportunity to cross-train into voice analysis, which obviously I wasn't doing anything else at the time, and I had no place to go, so I did that. I ultimately ended up being sent overseas. I went to the European theater, and I thought, wow, that's fantastic. I don't have to go to Vietnam. Everybody else is going to Nam.
Right.
So I ended up in Frankfurt, Germany, and while there, we get a call, and they tell us, we need a contingent. We're going to go to the Far East. And when they said Far East, there was only one place we're going to go in the Far East, and that was going to Nam. Well, it turned out that fortunately, ours was just a detail, but we did go to Nam, and our job was to figure out whether or not the Soviets were actually operating or training or basically running the surface-to-air missile sites. They had built them back in '65, so I had figured out, they got to be training the North Vietnamese, probably at the Soviet Union, shipping them back. But we did find out that there were some of the sites being operated by the Soviets, and obviously, in the game of war, you can't play those kinds of games. You got to play fair. So I don't even know what ultimately happened to the situation, but that was our role, and then we got to go back to our nice little warm bunks in Frankfurt, Germany.
But so you were intercepting Russian communications by radio and translating them?
Well, to let people know really what happens, okay? It's just like sitting out here and having yourself on the police radio. When that radio signal goes out, God only knows where it stops. So with the right equipment and the right training, you can probably get on and intercept almost anything. And basically, we had what they call RF-40 receivers, and you could roll practically any frequency that you wanted. And of course, after a while, you learn who's where. Right. So, and you build intelligence from that way. Surprisingly, it's a little bit like a soft wiretap.
That's how I was going to go.
There's a little Title III going.
Yeah, without the title.
Without the title, right.
I like it. So now let's get, and then we'll get into your police career now. Actually, your law enforcement career. And you come out of there, and how do you end up at Dangerous Drugs and Narcotics?
I came from the service, and I had a chance to go back to the NSA, but the money wasn't right, and I was finishing college. Fortunately, the Air Force had given me the bulk of my college credits while I was in. So it took me a short time to get my degree, and at the time they had what they call the Federal Service Entrance Exam. So you would take it and you would get on a roll or a roster, and that would determine what positions you might qualify for. And just about the time I was getting ready to graduate, I get a telegram, and it's from the Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs, and they offered me a chance to interview. So I ultimately did interview in Kansas City. Was hired on.
Tim, did you even know what that was? Did you have a clue?
No,
or-
I didn't, Tommy, but you know what? I had developed this real bad habit of eating, and I needed to have a salary and a paycheck. So I didn't really give a damn.
All right,
you know?
that's fair.
And that they were offering me 2 grades higher than NSA.
Gotcha.
So
All right.
it was one of those things. And when I interviewed, they said, well, you know, you got to carry a gun, and we're going to give you your own car, and you got to do. I said,
I'm in.
let's get it on. Let's go. You know? So, but I hired in Kansas City, and the thing about it was when I got my official, you're it, you can come, said report to Chicago. I had been around a little bit. I'd been in Frankfurt, Germany, so I mean it wasn't like I just got off the farm, but Chicago wasn't exactly what I expected.
Okay.
And so, but that's how I ended up with BNDD in Chicago.
So you go from that little town in Kansas, and then you tell me about your first partner in DEA and a little bit about him.
My first partner was a former Chicago detective. He was a black agent. Probably, I would say at the time that we were in Chicago, he may have been the most well-respected agent in the division. Why they gave me to him, I think somebody was pissed at him, So they said, let's just give this country boy to John. It was John T. Peoples III.
John T. Peoples, that's a cool
That's
name.
a great name.
Do not forget the third.
Okay. All right. You don't want to be known as his
And
dad?
I will get a hold of John. John's in Houston now, and when we finish this, I'll make sure he does dial.
Absolutely.
So,
Shout out to John T. Peoples
The
the
third.
third.
There you
yes,
go.
Yes, please make sure you know that. And every time we were out on the street, if we arrested a defendant, it was going to be make sure and tell him who arrested you. John T. Peoples III.
So he liked people to know his name.
Absolutely.
I like it.
Absolutely.
He's proud of it.
And hey, it and it got around on the south side of Chicago after a while that there was a salt and pepper team running in a green Chevelle. Don't screw with them. And they weren't afraid of some skinny little Kansas kid, I can guarantee you. So,
John T. Peoples III had a little reputation, did he?
he had a great reputation.
And Tim, the south side of Chicago, that was the rough part of Chicago, right?
Well, that was me and Leroy Brown were down there, Tommy.
Okay.
You know that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bad Leroy Brown.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
But yes, at that time, my partner didn't work on the north side. North side was where you had the kiddie dope.
Yeah.
Weed.
You want to work dope, work heroin, work the south side of Chicago.
Gotcha. Okay. All
But
right.
tell him the one where he did. It reminded me of a movie where you guys walked into a bar and tell me that one.
I was always kind of a little bit, shall we say, apprehensive at times. Now, John didn't scare him a bit, but I was bricks. We walked into the Tiger Lounge on the south side of Chicago, and I think that was 44th and Indiana. But the Tiger Lounge had a reputation as just being, rough, mean, a couple of shootings a night if necessary, a knifing or two just to top off the evening. And John would walk in and he'd tell the doorman, the bouncer, let him know that John T. Peoples III is here. And you could hear the pistols hit the floor.
Is that right?
And he'd turn around and walk out. So, but
It's kind of like the movie 48 Hours with Eddie Murphy. There's a new sheriff in town.
Right.
Well,
His name's Reggie Hamlin.
and
The throwing glass up against the back bar.
back in those days, it was the good old days. And don't let John T. Peoples III catch you with a gun.
Uh-oh.
That's not a good idea.
All right.
That's not good for your career. Okay. Being a defendant, that is.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
So,
So, and you did a lot of undercover early on. Tell us a little bit about that, and then you almost got killed.
well,
Word from our sponsors. Looking for a place to unwind, celebrate, or just pull up a seat with a good company and a fine cigar? Head to Riverman Cigar Company, located at 8984 Watson Road. They're not just a cigar shop. They're a premium lounge where craftsmanship meets chill. From Padron to AJ Fernandez, the humidor is stocked. The sonic humidifier with reverse osmosis keeps every stick tasting top tier. Whether you're new to cigars or a seasoned aficionado, they've got events, education, and a cozy spot to kick back. Call 314-843-3355 or check them out online, rivermancigar.com, where quality matters and the vibe's right.
Now, Tom, where does Dan from Riverman Cigar go when he's selling all those cigars at a high price?
Making all the money.
Yeah, making all the money. Where does he go after that?
He should head on out to Avail Professional Services. It's based in St. Louis, but it has reach across Missouri and Illinois. They're experts in tax planning, payroll, bookkeeping, HR support, and they don't stop until you're under control. Whether you're a solo hustler or a growing firm, Avail brings a high-touch service with real-world results. Visit availproserve.com for your free consultation. Avail Professional Services, when every financial detail matters. Go see Dr. Dussold, otherwise known as Marty Bird. Huge supporter of law enforcement. Go see him. Marty.
The Birdman.
Yep.
I'd gone and done the analysis at the same time, But anyway, so we were really busy. We basically were doing a lot of buys, and that was the days when the Office of Drug Abuse Law Enforcement came in, which was the predecessor to our DEA task force or BNDD task force. So I had gotten a call from another group that wanted me to do a buy for them. I said, sure, why not? I'll do it. It was going to be a telephone introduction, which didn't really please me, but I said, I'll do it. So it was set up. I was going to buy, I think it was an ounce of heroin at the time. And originally it was just one person showing up. Well, when I get to the meat spot, it's two people, two brothers, which I felt, hey, I can probably still control the situation a little bit. So that didn't bother me that much. They made a couple of phone calls, said, oh, the source is coming. You'll have the package here shortly. In the meantime, I made an excuse. I had to make a phone call, and I called into base and said, hey, tell the people on the street if this guy shows up without the money, I'm calling the deal off. So everybody's in agreement. Basically, I knew I had my surveillance still there with me. So guy number 3 shows up. Immediately, he doesn't have the package. I tell him, hey, the deal's off. We're not going to do this. The guy says, well, can you give me a ride down to my other car down here, et cetera? So now I've got 3 in the car with me. Not a real good plan. Mm-hmm. So I drive by, and I happen to see one of my surveillance cars on the street next to a church parking lot. And I pull into the parking lot, and I said, guys, this is as far as I'm going to go. Get out here. And at that time, the guy in the back seat behind me came over the seat, stuck the knife to my throat, and the robbery was on. So as they patted me down, I had a pistol in the small of my back. I leaned up against the seat so they couldn't reach it, figuring if they got that, they're probably going to shoot me with it. Right, they exchanged knives. They bailed out the right-hand side of the car. I tripped the door handle on my side and fell out my side of the car, in a puddle, a hump, mm-hmm. and pulled the pistol. And fortunately, I wanted to kill him, but I knew that here we are.
Right.
They're on the other side of the car. I've got the gun. So,
yeah.
But my surveillance immediately recognized what was going on, and within about 50 yards.
Very good. Very good.
All 3, joined us, and we went back to the county.
It all worked out. Good guys won on that one.
It taught me a lot of lessons about, watch for the signs.
Right.
When the signs are not right, don't do it.
Right.
So.
And you should, you gave him a ride. Probably not a good idea giving him a ride.
Well,
I'm just throwing that out there.
Not a good idea.
Monday morning quarterback.
Not a good idea there, and not a good idea to get in a situation you don't think you can control.
Right.
Bottom line.
So the other thing you've been involved in is the arrest of some public figures, and everybody loves the arrest of a public figure. I don't know which one you want to start. Well, let's start first with the mayor. You locked up a mayor. Give us a little story about the mayor.
Yes, this was the, actually at the time he was the ex-mayor of Poplar Bluff, Missouri. He was a city councilman at the time that we made the case on him. And we did have an informant that came in and said the ex-mayor is dealing both cocaine and marijuana. And of course it's Poplar Bluff and we're up in St. Louis, so I said, well, it doesn't really make too much sense of a St. Louis distributor looking for a source in Poplar Bluff. So let's ease into this kind of gently. I said, look, this is the story we're going to go with. I've got my own thing going up in St. Louis, but I've got a sufficient amount of capital I want to invest, so I'm looking for some acreage to set up a grow operation. So what we did was I called up and said, it just so happened that he and his family were also in the real estate business, which made a perfect introduction. So basically, I managed to arrange a meeting with him, and I got our local pilot, and I said, show up at the airport, I'll bring this guy out, and let's fly him down and do a little escort and let him make him think that we have a lot of money.
So you came in as a high roller, huh?
I came in as a high roller, but then of course we had the bridge to go across from why do I want to buy coke from him if I'm such a high roller? So during the transition period, I of course lost my connect in St. Louis and was looking for a new connect. And lo and behold, he said, well, I can do that for you. And the rest was history.
And then if he went to jail. Now, did anybody go down with him? Any other
Yeah, we
local
actually,
people?
the very first time I bought from him, he didn't show up with the package. And so he said, oh, my guy is tied up right now, if you want to come. I said, well, no, I'll just wait. Why don't you go ahead and trip and go to your guy and pick it up? So we had the source identified the very first time. Okay. And we ran a couple of buys after that, basically corroborated the fact of who we knew. We also tied up a couple other people at the same time on the surveillance. I had a lot of good people, to tell you the truth, Tommy, that worked for me, including Czech,
We're going to get to check. You guys are going to get to the airport. We got two more. We're going to do two more high profiles, and then we'll get to the airport and check. Okay. You guys can tell stories. But now let's go. We've got the mayor. Let's go to the one you did right here when you came to St. Louis with Tony Wagner, and talk a little bit about that.
The case with Tony was a case against a judge and a doctor and a go-between. And what had happened was Tony had a good connect or a good liaison with a machining company up on the north side of the city. And he got a call one day, and it was the owner of the company that said, I just had a couple of people come in here and they want to buy a pill press. And for those who don't know, the pill press obviously is exactly what it says. It is the machine that punches out the tablets or the pills, whatever you happen to be making, and ultimately you can crank up, thousands and thousands of pills. And at the same time, the people ordered what they call lemon 714 punches and dyes. Well, at that time they called them lemons or 714s, but it was Quaalude or methoclone.
Okay.
And it was probably at the time it was a drug of choice.
So this is the Quaalude case?
This was a Quaalude case.
Okay.
A Quaalude case, Tommy, without the lude and without the Quaalude, as you'll hear.
The pill press. That's all right.
But
They're trying.
But we had everything. We had pretty much everything we needed except for the drugs. But we'll get to that point. So we said, fine, we're ready to do it. We'll come and pick up the machine because we were going to ship the machine to headquarters and have them install an internal beeper. Well, he said, you guys can't do that. He said, I promised the machine to them next week. I said, that can't happen. We are not going to be able to wire that machine up in a week's period of time. Let's go out and take a look at it. So Tony and I drove up, looked at the machine, and we figured out that, hey, what we'll do is I'll call headquarters and we'll have them make us a pallet insert. The machine's going to be on a pallet. We'll double 2x4 the inside, and we'll have the beeper concealed there. When they pick up the machine, we just simply pull the paper clip. That activates the signal, and we're good to go. We're good until, of course, they set the machine down and throw the pallet away. But we're hoping that we get it to its final location before that happens. So they pick the machine up the end of August, and they go straight down to Park Hills, at that time Flat River, Missouri. And they sat down at a residence, and there are a number of people around, and of course we've got 6 or 7 surveillance cars in the area. Very difficult for us to be anywhere near the activity, but we were able to be down the road, and we were able to see that they had parked the truck that it was on next to a shed at this residence. So we stick with it, continue our surveillance, cut some people off, send them home, start making plans of how we're going to stay on this thing. In the meantime, we do our homework. We find out that the truck they put it on belonged to a St. Francis County Circuit judge. So it's, okay, maybe they borrowed the truck, whatever. We find that the house that it was set down at belongs to a local doctor. So that's, okay, that too could be somebody else in the game,
Son.
So,
Right.
don't jump to conclusions
Right.
yet. So,
Right.
but so we sit on it for 2 weeks solid there. It goes no place. It sits beside the shed.
Is there a battery?
The battery's fine.
Okay.
Battery's fine. We're doing very well because we
Good
can
call.
back off of it and just monitor the signal. So after 2 weeks, the machine, they move it. Okay, well, surveillance loses the machine. So I call our pilot up, let's go find it. So we start from St. Louis and we start flying a grid. And ultimately, we find it at about 10 miles down the road from where it had been. And at this time, it is set up on a rental property that the judge owns. It's his foreman that lives there, but the truck is backed in under a shed. And the press is still on it, and it's still humming. So once again, we're in good shape. So we stay with it. We go into about another 35 days
Oh, the battery's got to be getting low now, Doug.
of 24/7 now.
Okay.
And by that time, I think I'm getting very popular in the office because I'm the one making up the shift work.
Oh,
You're the guy.
you got to do that. You're working Sunday. Yeah.
Oh, you know that.
Yeah, I know. I know you.
Yeah. Oh, your kid. Your
When
kids.
you came up to me, we would have got an argument.
Yeah. Your kid's birthday.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
hopefully they'll have more of them.
Exactly.
So,
I know who you are.
what can
Not
you
the
say?
most popular person right now.
Yeah, well, you've lived it then.
Yep.
So at least we're still in the game. We've still got the signal. The machine is within us being able to get it if we want it. And it moves again. They move it in the middle of the night and we lose it again. So again, the pilot and I go up. We've got the monitor equipment in the plane. We do the grid again. We find it again. This time it's out pretty much in the middle of nowhere, with the exception there's one farmhouse about 2 miles down the road that sits up on a hill. Well, you can actually see the place there, but we've still got a good signal from there. So we managed to get an RV. We talked to the people there. The local one, the deputy sheriff said, hey, these people are straight. You don't have to worry about it. They can keep a secret. So we put this RV next to their house, and that's our base of operation. And we continue our 24/7. About 10 days after it moves, the battery starts to fail.
News.
So
There
now,
you go, Tommy.
I knew
That battery's
So-
got to go.
yeah, it's that's not good news.
No.
So we apply for a sneak and peek warrant. Tony Wagner and I are going to go down, see if there's any damage to the pallet, see if we can somehow rig up another beeper, slide it in there and renew the signal. So we do. We get the warrant and we go across the pasture, tip a couple of cows on our way. So we get there and we know that the property that this is on, the guy's got a dog. That's all good farmers down there do.
And a gun.
So it's like when you get inside the shed here, you're inside the shed. There's no getting out. So you're going to have a choice. Like I told Tony, just don't shoot the guy. We'll arrest him if he comes out, but don't shoot the guy. So we managed to get in. We do our measurements. We figure out that yes, we can in fact do another installation. So we call headquarters with our original diagrams that we had. Our tech section makes us up another beeper, ships it out to us overnight express. We apply for an installation, sneak and peek. We repeat the same activity, go back in, reinstall the beeper, off we go again. Now we're in good shape. Plus at that time, we got one for the truck also. So we have the two beepers going, and we're approaching November. And at that particular time, I was kind of afraid to go to the office, because we'd been into it for about 60 days, and I know there were some really angry people there. So I told Tony, either you're going to have to take this over and make up the shift work, Tony, or we're going to have to end this thing. So at that particular time, we decided what we'll do is we'll try to roll the guy that's got the machine on his property. So we get the search warrant for it, we get the seizure warrant for the machine, we execute them. We basically, give the scare of a lifetime into the guy that's got the machine, and he agrees to cooperate. So we wire him up. First, we make a call to the judge, instruct him what to say, tell him that I had company come by tonight, and that thing you had in my shed, they took it. Yeah, bop. And the judge says, don't say anything on the phone, just come over and see me. Well, then we wired him up, sent him over to the judge. They discussed, the scenario, what happened, who do you think, ratted us out, et cetera, et cetera. And the judge says a very nice comment that played for the jury well. Don't worry about it. If they convict us and send us to prison, I'll make sure we get to sent where there's naked women and no fences.
How about that?
So,
How'd that work out for
Yeah.
him?
it worked out to the tune of about 9 years.
9 years. All right. I hopefully he had a lot of naked women.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure he saw any naked women at all. But I do know he
Exactly.
got the 9 years.
Exactly. So now let's go to last public figure. I want to hear the story about the sheriff that you guys in Hannibal, Missouri.
That case started basically out of a big meeting. We're sitting in the office one day, and I see the Missouri Highway Patrol Superintendent come in, the FBI SAC come in, U.S. Attorney come in, and all of our supervisory personnel went into this big meeting. And when you see that happening in the office, you know that, there's probably something going on. you know?
Those are the ones you turn around and leave.
Yeah. Well, you try to get out and get on leave as quick as you can. But after the meeting goes down, everybody leaves. My supervisor comes out to me and says, put a surveillance team together and you go to Palmyra, Missouri, and there's a guy there. You went up and you talked to them before about this guy by the name of Ray Orta. Go do surveillance on Ray Orta, make a case on him. I said, sure, I'm not doing anything else today. We might as well go do it. So I put together a task force, and let me say one thing. They could have gone to the DEA group, but they didn't. They came to the task force.
Oh, there you go.
Task force
So-
is good.
Quite a
So-
compliment.
Absolutely.
No
I
doubt.
said, I said, if somebody's going to get screwed on this, it's going to be us. So, and I'm taking you all with me. So, but anyway, we put together a surveillance team. We go up. We actually do get our surveillance set up. The very next day, Ray Orta comes into town. He'd been down in Texas. He drives in, garage door goes up, car goes in. About 10, 15 minutes later, Ray starts the usual. Out he comes, gets in the car, goes up, meets one guy at an abandoned gas station. We can see there's a transaction that takes place there. Ray comes back. He does one more time like that. The third time he gets ready to leave, he actually has the garage doors open, and I can see that he's put 2 large garbage bags in the trunk of the car. I said, basically, at this time, we're going to take him on this one. So he went to a city park, gets out, he gets the garbage bags out. They go into a van. There's 2 guys there. I can actually see Ray counting the money. The 2 guys in the van take off. I tell the task force cars that were with him, let him get out of the area, take him off. We'll take the other guy. So we arrest Ray. And the first thing I asked Ray was, what made you think you could get away with this? I mean, it's so blatant. Why don't you just do it on Main Street? And he said, I can get away with it. I got the sheriff in my pocket. Yes, right.
You don't believe me? You're like,
No. I had been up there about 2 months before that, and I had met the state's attorney and the sheriff. And the sheriff was one of these spit and polish, and he had been the former president of the Missouri Sheriff's Association. He had a tremendous reputation, and I said, this can't be. But Orta said, I can pay him off. I owe him some money. I said, let's do it. He said, no, I'm not doing anything unless you guys give me a pass. I said, I can't do that. He said, well, you better call somebody that can. I called Ed Dowd, who was U.S. attorney at the time, told Ed what was going on. He said, put him on the phone. He had promised him that, hey, if you assist us, make this case, we'll cut you loose. Ultimately, we made a payment to the sheriff. We did a lot of legwork after that time, developing witnesses, making sure, because we knew basically what was going to happen was probably I'm running my own case. I'm doing my own investigation. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we locked him into a story that he couldn't get out of. We interviewed him through a couple of supervisors. Obviously, he made some statements there that he later regretted. And the bottom line was he was found guilty of conspiracy. We did one thing in the case, though, Tommy, that I hate to be cocky about it, but I had gone through all of the telephone logs of the sheriff's department for several months, and I knew what the alias was of Orta, and I had seen that going through all these logs, there were just a ton of calls coming from Bob Small.
Bob Small,
going to
Biggie Smalls.
going to the sheriff.
Came up with something better
Okay.
than that.
So there were a ton of these calls, and they were all from Bob going to Sheriff White. Nobody else, Sheriff White. So at the time of trial, we introduced the radio or the telephone logs, and I testified that yes, these are all calls, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the defense attorney gets up, of course, and says, well, will you look at those logs a little closer? So I look at them. He says, aren't all those calls 2 minutes or less? I said, yeah. He said, well, what can you say in 2 minutes? I said, can I give you an example? He said, yes. I said, Sheriff, I've got your money. I'll meet you at the same place. I said, that was 12 seconds.
Good answer.
End of case.
There you
Okay,
go.
I love it.
Good job.
I love it.
Good job.
But now let's go into what you and Chuck have the most in common, and then let's go to this airport group and how you started. And then, and just for the listeners out there, the airport interdiction is similar to the highway interdiction that you've heard stories about, where we take large amounts of money off the highway, and you're looking for certain clues and you're looking for certain things to do this, and it can lead to some tremendous cases. And talk a little bit about how that started, Tim, and what year and all that good stuff.
Yes, actually, I ran a pilot program in the last part of 1985 before we actually formed the detail. But what we had to ascertain, Tommy, was what are they really doing? And we all knew at that time how the dope game was played in St. Louis. You know, you get to a kilo level, more than likely the defendant's going to go to a source city. He's going to go south, he's going to go to Miami, LA, whatever it happens to be. So the best way to travel then, of course, was the airport was about as cheap as a bus fare. So a lot of that traffic was coming in and out of the airport. And the question was, how do you know? Mm-hmm. What does he do? So I looked over a number of cases that we'd made previously, and then I went out on the pilot program and started looking, and we found that there were a lot of commonalities here. That, number one, guy was flying without an advance reservation, paying cash for a ticket, doing a quick turnaround on the other end, no baggage, using a Crow ID or no ID. So there was almost all of these things were present on an outbound. So when I did the pilot program, I knew that I needed some help somewhere. And at the time, Ozark Airlines was operating out there. I don't know if you're old enough to remember
Ozarks?
Remember Ozark? So I talked to a couple of the supervisors out there, and the supervisors agreed to give me a hand, at least in this pilot program and following. So they allowed me to, if I saw somebody that was making a suspicious purchase or something that piqued my curiosity, I could go to the back door of the reservation office. They would let me in, and I could read and see what they're doing on the computer. So the very first time they let me do this, I see what I think is a pretty good target. He fits all the as they'd say, profile.
Right.
Nobody's profiling, but they fit the profile.
Absolutely.
So I take him down. I happen to have another agent with me that is now deceased, Grady Skaggs. So, and at the time, Grady was a lot like other people that nobody's going to let you search. We walk down the concourse. I do the approach, do the interview, et cetera, ask for the consent to search. He gives it, sees $20,000. So we go back, of course, and finish an interview. But after I finish with that, I take the $20,000 to Ozark Airlines, went in the supervisor's room and said, this is what you got coming through the airport, and just dumped it all out on the desk. And from that time on, we had a great rapport with those. They weren't getting paid for it, but they enjoyed seeing the police dogs work.
Well, and I want to get to Tommy on this. And Tommy, one of the things that Tim brought up quickly in that
Right.
is that his biggest hurdle in that case was that people did not believe that people would give consent to search bags.
Exactly.
And you told a story about when you went there and you had the same.
Yeah,
Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So I went out there not even knowing we had people out at the airport doing interdiction. We had two, and we can talk about how that all happened. But at any rate, we had two city coppers out there, and I went out there and they explained this to me, and I'm like, there's no way people are going to do this, including at Tim, and you can attest to this, the U.S. Attorney's Office didn't.
Biggest problem.
Yeah, they didn't go.
didn't
They
believe
said,
it.
there's no way this happens. And it was explained to me what to do, what to expect, to get probable cause, to get in and get consent to get into their back. That's the ultimate goal. And I remember week one, we had source cities and dope money going out, dope coming in. I'm looking at one of those outbound LA flights, and sure enough, here comes a guy literally not running, but a pretty quick, fast walk, last minute, going out. And I thought, I'll be damned. This happens out here.
There it is. It's
And,
magic.
I could tell you, as Tim can, story on top of story on the money seized out there. I think, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, year one was $1 million cash. Or close to.
It was in excess of $1 million. Actually, I
Okay,
think
it was over
like
$1 million.
$1.2 million, I think, the first
Yeah.
year. So,
Well, Tommy, as you and I talked before, the respective chiefs of police, city, county, and the airport, mainly the city, they didn't expect that to happen. And so with that $1 million plus seized, there's asset sharing that goes back to those departments, right? Well, we only
When
had
you only
two
have
out
two
there.
people and
Yeah,
somebody else has six.
we came up on the short end on that deal. But it was an experience I'll never forget. Great job. I couldn't believe they were paying me to people watch. Just people
some,
watch.
Airport's a
some
great
nice looking
place.
people.
Nice employees. We'll leave it at that.
Really nice employees.
Very nice employees. TWA and
Did you guys get free parking and stuff like that?
oh yeah, we had a restricted area.
I'm talking
and-
about when you went on vacation.
oh well, not
You
That-
going to talk about that?
upgrades. Anyway,
That too, and that was another thing. Occasionally you might be able to get somebody and upgrade to first class. you
Right.
know. So
right
Now,
If she-
you did,
if she
you
was
did
real
a case
cute.
where the guy makes his escape. Talk about that one real quick. Where the guy ran across the highway.
Tim. Yeah.
Well, we basically had, when you work the airport, just from the nature of what you had to do, really put the defendant in the advantage because you had to make him feel as though he had the
Right.
opportunity to leave.
That was all part of the deal, all
And- yeah.
consent and
And-
building up to it.
Exactly. You don't hold on to his ID. You don't hold on to his
Right.
ticket. There's no more than one that approaches him. There's no uniforms involved. There's no weapons shown. When you get that, then you get, the track meet is on because
Yeah.
there's a number of them that figure out, hey, I can't beat this guy, but I can outrun him. So, and
Right.
everybody I think that worked the airport probably experienced it. If you did enough interviews, you were going to get a runner. And a couple of runner stories for you. I had a supervisor at the time that he could not believe what we were doing at the airport. I don't know if he thought we were sticking up a local bank or not, where the money was coming from, but he didn't believe it. So I said, hey, come on out and I'll show you. So he comes out, and lo and behold, he's not there but about 10 minutes. And I said, there's a good target over there at the TWA ticket counter. I said, I didn't see how he paid, but keep an eye on him. I said, let's just interview him anyway. Okay. So he walks up, and as soon as he starts down with the badge, wham, the guy's out, and he's on the upper level of the departure level. And he goes out the main doors, and at the old Terminal 1, and I think it actually is still set up that way, between the departure level and the parking garage is about a 15-foot gap. And it goes down about 3 to 4 stories down to a concrete basement. The guy hits the outside of the ramp and goes over that rail. I guess he thought he was an Olympic broad jumper, but he doesn't make the garage wall.
Oh, no.
He goes,
Oh, no.
oh no.
Oh, no.
And 2 broken legs later, and the EMTs show
Fortunate.
up, and
Right.
away it goes. And I'm thinking, okay, here comes lawsuit for sure. We don't find any dope. We don't find any money. And we don't hear anything. And 2 weeks later, I'm at the ticket counter. Here comes a guy in a wheelchair with 2 broken legs. He's going home.
Did you try to search him at that time?
No, I
Stop him again? Hey, I need to get out of there
You
so I
gotta
can search
pass.
it.
Well, I knew one thing for sure then, Tommy. I could probably catch him.
You did have the upper. Well, did he have one of those things?
Well, yeah, well, that could be. And another runner story we had, I had, Chuck had mentioned them to him. There were 2 former homicide detectives from St. Louis County worked for me, and I'll tell you a story about that as we go. They're working a graveyard shift. I go out to be with them one night just to, give them a little encouragement. And we have a red-eye flight come in from L.A., and we get a quick walker who comes off, and he's looking around, and one of the detectives makes the approach, and he gets about halfway through his spiel of telling him what he's doing, and the carry-on bag goes on the floor, and again, the race is on. Well, at that time, it's at southwest of what is now Southwest, and there's the huge parking lot right out in front before they redesigned the whole thing. And he comes out, he goes across that over the retainer fence on the frontage road, across the high-speed lanes of 70, going westbound, across the high-speed lanes of 70 going eastbound. He makes it all the way across and gets away. But we've got the bag. We opened the bag up. We got 2 kilos of coke in the bag, and there are a number of photos in the bag. One of which is a photo of the crook standing in front of his Beamer, blocking all but the first digit of the license plate. So we go back, we get on the computer, wham, there he is. That's the guy. We run him, we find out he's on probation, and he's supposed to be meeting his probation officer in a couple of days. So we get the warrant, and I said, when you guys get there, just knock on the door and enter the room as though you had been running all that time to catch up with him. And the probation officer, of course, agrees with it, and they do, and they pull it off, and hey, everybody
They
was
went in the room panting.
panting.
Said
yes,
we've been
panting.
chasing you since you crossed the highway.
We knew we'd catch you, SOB. And I
The
don't-
airport was a great gig. And Timmy and I were talking before we went on the air here. I don't think they're out there. And this is all pre 9/11.
Yeah.
So you got to keep in mind, you can just walk from a parking garage if you're picking somebody up and walk right to the gate. So it was a free for all. And I can't tell you how many, well, I one guy, how many times I had seizures, and that was kind of the norm with all the investigators out there. It was a great deal, and it was profitable, for the respective agencies. I never had a chief ask me how much dope I seized out there. It was all how much money.
There's no doubt about
It
that.
was about the money.
We had a percentage written on our head, and
Yeah.
every person was worth a percentage.
Yeah, absolutely.
And quite honestly, that was when we got ready to form this. Basically, the SAC had told me, he said, just go out and find out what we need, and then we'll go from there. And I determined that probably if we could come up with a complement of 10 people, plus we throw in some supervisory agents, we could probably get the job done. So we decided we'd have a forming meeting. And we invited representatives from the city, representative from the county, and I'd already talked to the chief at the airport. We knew he was good to go. He could only do 2 men, but we knew we had a commitment of 2 from him. So as the meeting is taking place, the first thing, of course, everybody wants to know is what's in it for us. Well, just the day before, I had seized $30,000, and I'd already had it bagged up in evidence bags and whatnot. And I just reached down beside my chair and shook it out on the table, and I said, we could probably do that every day of the week. And everybody went, how many you need?
I got 2, I got 4, I got 6.
Well, it happened to be at the time, I think, and Tommy and I were talking about, but I think it was at the time the head of narcotics in the county, who later became the county chief, that said, we'll do 6. And so that left 2 for the city. So that was how that all came about.
Yeah.
Tommy, you can tell about it. They tried to renegotiate.
Yeah. So I had heard it from Chief Sheets. I'm sitting in his backyard over there on Murdoch in St. Louis Hills having a beer with him. And we were talking about this airport task force and the money that was coming in. I mean, it was big time. And the chief told me he called the Jerry Lee and said, hey, let's divide that Clayton group up, the task force. We had more people there. And then he said, let's make it 50-50. We'll throw half our group out at the airport, half the group, and we'll even this thing out. And Patel said, absolutely not.
Jerry Lee's like that.
I said,
that doesn't sound like a
Jerry
good idea
Lee.
for us.
No. They're losing. He said, I like the equation. We're going to keep it the way it is.
All about them.
I like this asset sharing just the way it is. And Bob Sheets told me that.
So Tim, you started the airport group, and then they saddle you with another start, and you go over to the east side. You know, the people here in St. Louis would know it as East St. Louis. You were just out of that, but that was part of your territory. Talk a little bit about starting that up.
Well, we, again, it was one of those things where let's see what we could do. And quite honestly, the U.S. Attorney's office over there had come in, and the U.S. Attorney had seen me at the airport. And he said, I'm going to make a pitch to get you to the east side. And I went, yeah, okay. Good luck, Rick. You know, bid him goodbye on his flight. Well, a couple of weeks later after that, I find out he did. So I go to the east side and talk with the assistants and meet with the U.S. Attorney and figure out who was actually doing what at that time. So, and the state of Illinois had a great contingent there, and they had what they call the Metropolitan Enforcement Group of Southern Illinois, MEGSI, which is still in existence. And that was a complementary task force of local law enforcement, of course, contributing manpower. They didn't have a sharing program, so basically what it amounted to was represented, I'll give you a guy, you work my town, that takes care of my narcotics unit. So we go there, and I have nobody, but I said, you're going to have to give me some manpower. They conceded. I had Chuck come over and another city policeman come over. Had a county officer assigned. I was able to talk the U.S. Marshal Service into giving me somebody. So, and I had a couple agents, and with that, we took off.
Chuck, talk a little bit about that. You were an original member. Who else was out there with you? Did you have fun? Give us a little bit about the working out there.
Had a great time. Could not have done it married, single man's job. You know, we were 7 days a week, 24/7, with the exception, if it can't get done, Tim, I love this guy. And let me back up real quick. What a compliment the DEA and federal government had bestowed upon Tim, that any startup, they went to this guy to start it up. They knew his talent. They knew his success. He did it at the airport. He did it over in the Southern District of Illinois. So his supervisors, DEA, the hierarchy within there, they knew if they needed to get a program off the ground, Tim was the guy, and Tim did it, and he was successful at it. And he did it at the airport, and he did it over in the Southern District of Illinois, which covered Springfield all the way down, all the way over from Missouri to Indiana.
Yeah, the lower 39 counties of Illinois.
There, I didn't know how many counties, but yeah, I mean, so you get it. There's a huge area there, virgin territory, with the federal government. And Tim went over there, and he left the airport, went over there, found office space in the U.S. Attorney's office. We were literally in the hallway of the law library of the U.S. Attorney's office. Just threw up
Tables?
tables,
Computers?
cubes, yeah, whatever.
Anything we could steal.
Anything, yeah, literally. And then the next challenge was establishing relationships with the state and local guys, right? They didn't, who are these guys? We were fine. And, you know, East St. Louis isn't the most reputable area to be working. They were comfortable with where they were. And Tim went over there and established relationships and then brought us over. And that was the start of that task force. And it was wonderful, actually. It was a great job. We did a lot of damage. We got to know the local and state guys, right? And they were calling us when it was all said and done. They wanted the federal authority over there. They wanted us over there. We had, you know, we infiltrated the housing projects over there with that a state guy out of Springfield would come down and do buys. I forget his name off.
Did you guys take over a house at one point, Tim?
We were doing what they, I think it was probably 92, 93, somewhere in there. We had a little local heroin explosion, and East St. Louis was just saturated with heroin houses. They'd set up a house. The routine was a customer would come up, pass the money through a slot in the front door, and the package would come back out. Well, those type of cases were hard to get anybody to prosecute because, number one, they didn't know who was in the house, and number two, the level of activity didn't always meet a federal level. But if you could establish what they called relevant conduct and show that over a period of time that would meet the federal level for prosecution, then they'd take the case. So I said, well, what we'll do is we'll just execute a warrant on the house, and we'll take the house over. And I happened to have a couple of East St. Louis detectives that said, wow, that sounds like a lot of fun. So we did. And we started taking over the heroin houses, and we basically, we'd lock up the crook, take him away, and we'd run everything else. Take the dope away, customer would come up, the money would come through, what do you want? He'd give his order, how long? Get some good conversation, you know, haven't I seen you before? Yeah, I come here every so, So, and once we got him to a point where we knew we had him, the door would come open, there'd be a detective standing there, and we had a couple of runners there too, and you know, one guy forgot he was 6 feet off the ground on a porch without a railing, so it's real hard to get traction that way, you know, in midair, but so we did that, and surprisingly, after we did that for a couple of months, heroin houses disappeared in East St. Louis.
Right.
So
When you put the pressure on them, they disappear.
they decided there's a better place to do business. So,
Tommy, there was a guy in the projects, and he would sit out there all day selling crack. Didn't meet the federal level, so we just did continuous buys. Every day he was out there. We called him new shoes. He always had a pair of new shoes. All right, you can't make that up. And just buy after buy after buy after buy after buy, and then the U.S. attorney said, "Okay, yeah, we got enough here. Let's do them." So it was good. It was a great experience.
But we've gone on a little bit, and we're going to have you back on. I knew that we could never get to all your stuff. We're going to have to wrap this up. Is there any way? But I want to give you the opportunity to end this show with whatever it is that you'd like to say.
do I get bonus pay?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm all in again.
All right.
So,
All right.
No, I would like to say, number one, that my years in law enforcement could not have been any better than when I worked in task forces. I love the cops. You know, I found out when they came to work, they were ready to work. You know, and We had our share.
But I'll say this: is the cops appreciated agents like you more than you appreciated us, or just as much.
Yeah, well, we'll kick that around.
Right.
But hey, let me interrupt real quick. So we went
Oh.
we went over on the east side, right?
Yeah, I
Fairview
was going to
Heights.
correct you for when you said you worked 24/7. You know what?
Well, right, I know. where
You
you're
guys
going.
got to get to that story.
Yeah.
So, how many guys have bosses that would tell you if it can't get done between Monday and Thursday, it can wait till Monday? I said, what are we doing Friday? He goes, we're teeing it up. We're playing golf. I said, this is my guy right here.
Right.
So,
Well,
and over on the east side, there's a great golf courses, and I think we hit them pretty much all of them.
We tried.
We tried. Yeah, the AA for
exactly.
effort.
Yeah.
well, I'll also say this, and I'm being a DEA task force officer within the police department. Everybody thinks you got a suck ass job. You guys don't work hard. You guys just sit around the office. You guys do because they'll always run into you. That one day that you are playing golf, or
No
that
doubt.
one day that you took
Yeah.
off early.
Yeah.
They were never around when you were there at 4:30 in the morning, or you just had to go to Indiana. I'll never forget that. Or I just ended up in Indianapolis one day, and then they always told me, "Hey, you got to have clothes in the car. You got to have this." I had nothing. I was
Right.
in Indianapolis on a wiretap.
Yeah.
But anyway,
You're right.
What you were and that we're going to take it easy on Friday. I guarantee if it really needed to be done, you would have got it done.
Oh,
However,
absolutely. Yeah.
Monday through Thursday, it was
Game on.
buckle up.
No doubt.
Right?
Absolutely.
Now, if it were an emergency and we had to have an immediate call out, it would get done.
I'm with you.
But then hang on the scorecard because we'll pick up where
We
left
had an
off.
agent that he had a knack. He had a knack that every Friday, we ended up with the nickname Sergeant Friday because every Friday at 2:00 he'd come up with some bullshit, a buy, a surveillance.
He'd have worked himself into a transfer with me.
That's it.
I needed you around back in my day.
Right.
Hey, I do have one question from the crowd. Ricky Ray wants to know, did these guys take the same airlines back and forth normally at the airport on these drug runs, or did it matter?
Whatever was available.
Okay.
Yep.
But what
It-
you
it-
guys
it
would do was the targets that are the source cities.
Right.
And those, a lot of times those were at the same time, weren't they?
Yeah, they staggered. And again, it depended on how the airline was operating. I mean, where their equipment was and so on and so forth. There's certain airlines that obviously had red-eye flights that others didn't because of where the equipment was. But generally, you might see a guy come in and he'd shop TWA and find out that there wasn't a departure flight as quick as what he wanted. He might end up at Ozark. He might end, at that time, there was an Eastern. I think Frontier came in for a while.
Southwest was big.
Southwest was big.
Right,
So,
right.
so he had an option. But
So these guys, and keep in mind, pre 9/11, right? Pay cash, one way,
Right up the
right out of the box. ID didn't match the ticket, and and then it goes on and on from there.
We were doing the same thing with the buses in Interdiction.
Absolutely.
The
Yeah.
same kind of. Remember? Did you work the buses, Danny? Yeah, same thing. They stunk. Them people who rode the bus stunk.
No, if you can't take a plane, you got to take a bus. No, that's
Dude, they were
we
funky.
didn't do buses. Tim, they asked Tim to do no. We're airline. baby.
Yeah, he said, leave those guys doing that. Them stinky.
those
but
guys.
the worst part of it was one time the airfare got so cheap, we started getting bus riders coming to the airport.
Uh-oh.
I had to put a sign up that said, no bus riders.
That's
It was good. Timmy, you
That's
did a
good.
great job, man.
Timmy,
Yeah.
we appreciate you
Yeah.
coming by. Great career.
Yeah.
Thank
Good
you.
job,
Thank
man.
you.
Thank you.
Well
Thanks,
done.
guys. Appreciate
You bet. You bet. Good show, man. That was good.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you. Hey,
you bet.
love
you
it.
bet.
And we didn't even exhaust